Hosted by Mike, the Big Cheese.
Welcome back to the Heavy Metal Mayhem Radio Show. It is Sunday, June 14th, 2026, right there, Running Wild, Prisoners of Our Time. I remember trading for one of the Running Wild demos around 1983. I think it was the second or third demo. They actually put out quite a few demos that one year. And I became a fan of the band. And I remember getting The Gates of Purgatory, which the song comes off of, when it came out in 1984. And I love that record. And about a year later, we're at CBGB's at one of the Sunday matinees. And I think that the second record, Brandon Exile was on Noise Records, if I remember right. They had a representative. They handing out the records, as samples at the show, and everybody was like breaking them and throwing them away, getting rid of them. And I'm like, man, I love this, but I'm not getting rid of my record because I'm at a hardcore show. But it wasn't the best place to go and promote a Running Wild record. At a hardcore show. I don't remember who was playing that day, but it wasn't the place to be to promote a heavy metal record at a New York City hardcore show. But I kept my record, still have it till today. Like I said, those first two records are masterpieces in my opinion. I liked Under Jolly Roger, which came out in 1987. It was the pirate theme record. I think it was just a one-off that they were going to do that pirate stuff. And my God, it went on for like 20 something years. And I got kind of bored of it, so I kind of fell out of favor with Running Wild after the third record came out. But as it is, and so it goes. What can you do, right? Hey, but listen, we got a great show for everybody tonight. Jerry Feldstein of Panzer Division is our first guest tonight. Tim King from Embryonic, Autopsy, also known from the band Soil. He'll be our second guest tonight. We're halfway through the month of June, a couple of more weeks to go. I'll be away on vacation this weekend coming up, but I will be back Sunday at about 4:30. So I'm going to jump right into the saddle. We have a live show coming up for you next week too. I'm not going to cancel the show for another vacation. We got quite a few coming up this year because we were supposed to go to Egypt this month. The trip got canceled because everything going on over in Iran. And I've got a ton of airfare credit that I got to use up. So my wife and I are taking a lot of weekend getaways over the course of this summer. Not that you want to hear about that, but that's life, right? All right, let's get back to the music before we get Jerry on the line. How about some Oz, Fire in the Brain?
Fire and Brain, take one!
Shaking my head, burning the tire.
That's like Journey for Light. That album, well, not the album, but the demos were put out in an album about a year or two ago, I believe. I think it was Flint Records that put it out. I'm not even sure, but it was a pretty good album to have. So, love that band from back in the day. Had Susan Hart on the show. My God, early on, maybe 15 years ago. She was a real nice girl to talk to. I had a great time with that interview. All right. Before that, Oz, Fire in the Brain, and Running Wild, Prisoners of Our Time. Am I the only one that didn't know Excited broke up 2 years ago? I'm sitting here waiting for a new record to come out, and Alan Johnson does an interview today about a new band he's in, and he's talking about that Excited broke up in 2024. So how the hell did I not hear about this? Was it announced and I didn't catch it? Because usually I'm on top of these things, or I get the press releases from labels and PR people. I heard nothing about this. I'm sitting and waiting for a new record to come out, and the band broke up 2 years ago. So how do you like that? Ain't that some shit? After John Ricci left the band, I think that was it anyway, because John was the guy behind all the songwriting in that band. We had John on a few weeks ago with his new band, Power Rage. They're killing it, absolutely killing it. Sounds nothing like Exciter. I haven't had a chance to check out Alan Johnson's new band, but according to him, Exciter is over and done with. It broke up 2 years ago, so there you go. It must have been right after Hell's Heroes, because that was was that September? I don't remember. Whenever they played there, but they're not. They're done. It's over with. Yeah, what are you gonna do? But we got the music to live off of, right? So how about we play some Exciter, and then after that, I'm gonna go some brand new Tigers of Pantang. Let me know what you think of it. I'm hearing it for the first time myself also. So first Exciter, Violence and Force, then brand new Tigers.
Suck, attack, these feet to the bone.
brand new Tigers of Tank Forevermore. It sounds really good. It's sort of a continuation of where they've been going over the years. You're never going to get that classic sound from back in the late 70s, early 80s, but I think it's a great song, and I'm looking forward to the record. We had Rob on here about a year or so ago when they were promoting the live record, so I'm going to wait for the new record to come out when they do promotion for them and get Rob back on the show again, and we'll talk to him. And before that, like I said, Exciter broke up, Violence and Force, great record. Johnny Z, when we had Johnny Z on the show for Megaforce, he just ripped the band apart and that record. He said that was his least favorite release under the Megaforce label. He hated the album, he hated the band. Yet when I've talked to Dan over the years, I had Dan Beal on the show a few times, and we had John on a couple of weeks ago. They have nothing but good things to say about him. I don't think they're both on the same page, but it is what it is. All right, we're going to give Jerry Cole in a couple of minutes. If you listen to my show at all over the last 18 years, I've played Panzer Division's demo over and over and over again. But thanks to our friends at Heaven and Hell, all that's seen the light of day on vinyl and on CD. They did a great job on it. So let me play something off of the new record. Well, it's old music, but a new record, the Demolition album. Here's Fast Train to Nowhere, and I'll get Jerry on the line. Man, it doesn't get better than that. Let's get Jerry on the line right now. Let's get this interview going. A year since Skype went out of business, I have this new service provider for the show, and I still can't figure out how to make a conference call. All right, let's see if we get this one going here.
Hey, this is Jerry. Mike, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Jerry. It's a pleasure to have you on tonight. Such a big fan of Panzer Division. I'm so happy that this music is back again.
Oh man, it's so surreal to be on here. I tell you, we were, when we recorded this, we were four metalheads kind of chasing truth and volume, and never in our wildest dreams did we think that people would be interested in our music 4 decades later. And it's such a testament to the underground metal network and the tape traders on cassette tape back then, and the zines, and just a lot of things just kind of came together to make this happen. And it's incredibly humbling, and I'm really happy to be here to tell the tale.
So Mike, people really, I mean, a lot of metalheads, especially underground fans from back in the 80s, know who the band is, but they don't know nothing about the band because there wasn't a lot of put out back then. We didn't have the internet back in 1983 and 4, so it was all word of mouth. And I came into the band from my friend Jim Powell, who lived in Maryland, and he sent me a copy of the demo. I used to be a tape trader, and he was one of my pen pals. Used to write letters back then, and the old-fashioned way, and he gave me the tape. But I became such a fan. I've been playing that tape now for 40 something years. I played on the show at least every couple of months. I pick out a song. So I was so happy when Jeremy told me he found you and he put this together because it's such a great sounding version of those songs too now.
Well, it's just so crazy, and it's funny. Back in the early days, a very, very young Jim Powell was just starting a fanzine, and he did a great article on us. And Jim kind of became a fan of the band, and would hang out and recorded a lot of rehearsals. And it's funny, Jim would surface 4 decades later and become instrumental in kind of making this happen. And just, when Jeremy from Heaven and Hell called them, which is just an incredible crowd, thank you so much. I thought it was someone effing with me, to be honest with you. And I was just amazed. And, unfortunately, I'm the last man standing. And this is just such a tribute to the guys and everything. But it's just crazy how this all came about. Everything we did back then, like you said, this was pre-internet, pre-social media. Everything was deep, do it yourself and do whatever you had to do to make this kind of happen, which we did.
Well, I mean, how did it all come together? How did the 4 of you hook up together? Because I think it was Dave and John had a band previously together, but how did it all come together as, Panzer Division? How did you 4 guys hook up and make this happen?
Well, it's funny. We had all kind of been playing in the DC, the DC, Virginia, Maryland circuit for decades. And it's funny, back then you could, if you were a decent player and were a halfway good band, you could almost scrape by playing music, but nobody wanted to hear original music. And I was between bands, and it's funny, I had always been a guitar player. I'd never been just a lead vocalist. And I saw an ad, and it just sounded really interesting. And it's kind of funny how this is how things worked back then. Dave Bradley, rest in peace, my brother. Dave sent me a cassette tape of the music to Fast Train and kind of talked through the lyrics. I took the cassette into a studio I found in Virginia, did vocals on top of the cassette. In fact, the Dave, they dug it. We got together and it just instantly clicked. And we were kind of determined. We were going to chase truth and volume. Essentially, we went on to play our own stuff, and we ended up, we rehearsed, we were doing 5 nights a week, 5 hours a night. We were just trying to get songs together and make this demo happen. And we were just having a blast. I had never been just a lead vocalist, but Dave was such a good guitar player, and we all just had so much fun. And those songs were just so much fun to sing. And then, we started, God, there were so many, I tell you, Mike, we had decades of crazy adventures. Well, that's the picture, the tank picture on the back of the CD.
Yeah.
We were sitting down, we were going to name the band. We originally wanted to call the band Tank, but there was a band called Tank out of England at the time. So we said, hey, Panzer, yeah, it's a cool name. And then we said, it'd be cool if we had a real tank. I only feel comfortable telling this story because the place is closed now, but there was out in Aberdeen, Maryland, there was a place called Aberdeen Proving Grounds, which was a military base, and they had an amazing tank museum. So we went out there, we got a photographer, and we were going to take a picture. We found a Panzer tank. We were thrilled, and we're standing around, and off in the distance, we see these blue flashing lights, and we met a couple Jeeps of MPs, and there's 4 young lads in military fatigues and leather standing around a Panzer tank on a military base at night, and they were none too thrilled. But we explained what we were doing, and they ended up they ended up running a cable for us and grabbing a light and helped us get the picture, which was very cool. And then we just practiced and got all these songs together. And then we ended up going into Star Studios in DeSalle Street in DC and recorded this demo. We played live one night with all the tunes, and then we went back the next night and mixed it. And that's how the cassette came to fruition.
And like you were saying earlier, nobody wanted to hear original music; they wanted covers. I know you talk about most about the clubs because I hear this story from every band. All they wanted us to do was play cover songs because they wanted to bring people in, to spend money and drink at the bar, and we'd have to sneak in originals here and there without them knowing about it, and then that's how it started for us. And it's crazy that the bars back then, especially like around '84, when the scene was, Metallica was already starting to climb and they're making a name for themselves, and the music was starting to take off the metal music. So you think bands would want more original bands playing at the time, but it was still difficult.
One would think, it was such an exciting time in metal. It really was. And I guess, but you know what? This goes back, I'm an old guy. Yeah, this goes back decades. Hendrix had to go to England to break. It's just, I don't know, metal's been a tough road, but I gotta say, dude, Mike, the fact that we're even talking right now, the metal fans in the whole underground network are they're the most loyal fans out there, and boy, they can spot truth a mile away too. But yeah, it was so tough back then, but we were doing it. We were just four knuckleheads and we were having such a great time. And then, life happened essentially. Dave, it's funny, Dave, and it's weird when I go back and listen to the lyrics, you can there's kind of a hint at what the path that Dave would eventually take. A lot of the themes were good versus evil and false prophets. And, Dave just ended up moving to Tennessee and, had a great life there, but just kind of moved away from metal. And it's funny. Here's the crazy part of the story, Mike. We had no idea that this tape had somehow gotten loose in Europe and, was getting a lot of praise and gaining traction. And the only clue we had, and this is how sweet Dave was, I remember coming to rehearsal one day and Dave said, I got the weirdest letter from Czechoslovakia. And it's like, what? And so we opened it and all it said is, Dear Dave, you are a killer band. And it's like, what the hell? And then we get a few more, but, nothing ever happened. And we left on the greatest of terms. We had more songs. We just said, hey, if anything happens, we're there and we'll do it again. And, just life happened, as you know. And, but the fact that it stayed alive in the underground network is so, it's just humbling and mind blowing to me. And, and here's the thing I was telling you about our friend Jim, there was one existing recording of that demo and Dave actually posted it. It's the one up on YouTube when John passed away in 2016. And Dave and I, we'd always kind of stayed in touch, but we, kind of reunited then. And we had both at different times tried to find Jim Crockett, the bass player. And Jimmy, if you're out there, dude, please, hi, I love you. But, we never did. And we joked about doing this again and how cool it was to hear the music again. But, when Jeremy called from Heaven and Hell, they were doing their best to try to restore that single lone MP3, file off of YouTube. And then out of the blue, Jim Powell called me, and Jim had a direct from Napster copy of the songs, which he burned for me, and I was able to send to Jeremy, and they were able to get the end product, and they did such a good job with it. And Mike, it's so freaking surreal to be holding that CD but when we recorded that media didn't exist.
True. It didn't. Yeah. That's very
um,
true. But
but
when you hear because when Jeremy first sent me a copy of it, I put it on. Because I've had the demo now, since 1984. You're talking 40 years, and it's kind of
it's
worn
so
down.
crazy.
The cassette is worn down a little bit by now, but it still
So
plays, and
crazy.
it's so raspy. When I heard the mix that they did, I was like, oh my god, it's so clear and crisp, and it sounds so great. He always does a good job in all his products, but this one was kind of special to me because I still play your music till today. So to hear it play, it felt like it was brand new. It felt like I was listening to the band all over again for the first time.
Dude, now you're making me get all misty on the radio. Thanks, but no, I can't tell you how much that means. Just and the thing about it is, it's not about it's not about Lamborghinis or riches. It used to be groupies. Now it's nurses we dream of. But to be honest with you, but it's a
Yeah.
validation, and we were just literally we were just playing music that we all believed in, and it was so funny. I tell you, one of the foibles of bands back then was, we rehearsed a lot, and for some odd reason, screaming "Now you must pay hell's on its way" at the top of your lungs wasn't real HOA friendly. So we were always on the hunt for rehearsal space. And, that was a whole, like the first one we found was a place in Hollywood, Maryland. I don't know if you're familiar. It's not Hollywood, California for people listening, but hey, they were cheap and they were fine. And I remember driving there, Dave going, the dude that owns it said something kind of weird. It's like, what? He goes, well, he said, when we get there, make sure your equipment's all together and run real fast from a van to the door. It's like, great. But, they were exclusively like go-go and hip-hop bands at the time, but they'd never seen anything like us. But they ended up loving us. And then, not to cast dispersions, but I don't know what was, because they just vanished one day.
Oh God.
and
Well,
and then the next one we found. Oh no, please go ahead.
I know. I was saying, the Baltimore area had a lot of great bands back then. Wrathchild came from the area. Have Mercy, another band Jim was involved with heavily back then. Deuce and Tension. The same band, just changed the name later on. There was a great scene going on over there at the time. So was there a lot of camaraderie between the bands trying to make shows happen or hooking each other up with other gigs to get together and make the scene as big as you could for the area?
There really was. Bands were very supportive of other bands because we were all trying to play honest music and kind of just forward this movement. And it just seemed at the time everything was against that happening with original metal bands at the time. But, there were a couple clubs like Hammerjacks, you could get away with a couple originals, but even there, and I was fortunate enough to, back in the '80s, there was a great music scene in DC, but it was just brutal to try to get an original band in there, and bands were very supportive of any band that could kind of claw their way ahead a little bit,
Yeah.
and that hasn't changed much from what I see,
No,
unfortunately.
it's kind of the same today. But I remember there was a club in Baltimore called I don't know if it's called the Exodus Club or Channel One. I think it was Channel One when I went there.
I think
But
it was Channel One, yeah.
yeah. My band played there back in the '80s. We played at the Hung Jury Pub in DC at one time. Those were two great places I used to love to, and I went back there many times over the years to see shows there. I remember that Channel One. There was a hole in the ceiling. It was snowing out. We were getting snowing out as we were playing, getting shocked by the electric and the thing. It was a crazy club, but it was just such a great time because everybody's there to have fun. You didn't care that it was 10 below 0. There was a hole in the roof. Nobody cared, but
Yeah,
Baltimore
but
was such a great place.
it made the experience that much. It was like a marble bar had rats in the basement the size of buffaloes, but damn, it was fun, you
Yeah.
know. But it was I guess it was ambiance. But I think the thing about it, and I'll say this from my heart, for decades, I honestly think that metal fans are the most loyal fans, and I wouldn't be, dude, we would not be talking if not for that today,
True.
and it blows my mind, and it keeps me hopeful. There's a lot of good bands trying to come up now, and there's a lot of good guitar players out there, which I like seeing. I kind of filled between bands with doing the vintage guitar business, and I love to see good guitar players.
I'm sure you. Well, you said when you joined the band, you were really a guitar player, and you became the singer. Was it a comfortable transition for you to go from playing guitar to just being the lead singer, or did you kind of want to get behind the guitar still too?
You know what? Yeah, I, like all guitar players back then, had the tremendous guitar ego, but DC at the time, Danny Gatton, Roy Orton, there were players that would embarrass anybody there, but Dave was such a good player that I had no problem just singing, and I just had so much fun singing those songs. But yeah, it was fun. It really was fun. I think we're not that group of guys, it probably would have not been that way, but we just all clicked and we're kind of all after the same thing. If that makes sense.
Sure. I mean, there's the 5 songs that are on the album. I remember getting like the 3 on the first demo, and then one I picked up later on. Were there any more songs that you guys had worked on or recorded that you just didn't release at all at the time and they kind of got forgotten about?
It's funny. There are a lot more songs, and it's funny. Once again, Jim and I were talking just the other day. I'll put this out to you and everyone listening. There are unrecorded Panzer Division songs, which I can sing. I can play the guitar parts, but here's the deal. I could pull from probably cream of the crop of this area musicians and put a band together again, but it just would feel hollow, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You can't recreate that spark and everything. But Jim and I were talking, there's one song that I'm thinking of recording, not as Panzer Division, but kind of as a tribute to Panzer Division, that we were going to record as our next song. But I'm just kind of taking it a step at a time now, but I don't want to disrespect those guys. It was such a special thing we had. And, I don't want to be like, oh God, I think I've known a dozen musicians in my career that have all played in Foghat with no original members,
I know, I talk about that all the time here, but you are the singer of the band. You're the voice of the band. So yeah, like you were saying, John was was an amazing guitar player, and Dave. I'm sorry, Dave was an amazing guitar player and everything. But you just want to put it out there for the people to hear. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Whether you play all the instruments yourself, bring people in, it would be a great tribute to your music and the band because it is your band too. Don't forget.
Oh no, absolutely, and I am so incredibly proud of that band and humbled by this. But I really think that I'll talk to Jeremy and we'll work on it together. But I would love to. We had 20 original tunes ready to go.
Wow.
And I have most of them memorized. It's funny. Here's a story from Jim. Just yesterday, Jim was playing a song that he recorded from a rehearsal on a Walkman to me over the phone.
Wow.
And I still remembered the key right. So there is hope.
That's great. Every city or state has that one guy who's like the archivist for the metal community, and Jim is definitely that guy from your area. And I miss him. I saw him about 10 years ago at a festival in Brooklyn, New York, and I lost touch with him after that. So when you talk to him, tell him I said hi. I know Jim for back in the tape trading days of the early 80s.
Oh, absolutely. Jim, we were talking about you the other day. I think he met you originally at Lemoore.
Yeah, Lemoore. Yeah.
Yeah.
Going to see King Merciful Fate. We were going to see him. We ran each other at the record store where they were doing like a signing and taking pictures.
Dude, we're old.
Yeah.
But you know what? I've always thought if you can do it and do it right, are you listening, David Lee Roth? Enough. But, if you can do it, and the thing is, I've stayed active this whole time. I've been writing and recording and playing, and I would love to do at least the couple tunes we can. Like I said, I'm not trying to recreate Panzer Division, but as a tribute to the guys. And while I can still sing the stuff, but I hope, we shall see.
I don't blame you. I hope you do it. It'd be great to hear those songs, because it'll bring back a lot of great memories for fans that, still listen to that demo and now are going to buy the album. I mean, how long did the band go on? I mean, after these demos came out, when did it end? Did it end in a big bang and flash, or everybody just kind of walk away and say, we're done?
It ended in a kind of a, we gave it a shot. If anything happens, we're back together in a second. And then, just life came along and people, Dave ended up moving to Tennessee and things happened. But it's just the crazy part of it. We had no idea about it's the praise and the traction overseas it was getting. I showed this to Jeremy. This is the funniest. I had to take a screenshot of this. It was in some website in Greece of all places, but the quote is, "J.V. Feldstein is a legitimate artifact of the metal days." So that's an artifact. That's big with my kids.
Listen, Greece is a humongous community of metalheads in Greece. South America these days, Greece, Germany, most of Europe. That's where it's all happening right now for heavy metal. So if they heard that you were putting a lineup of this band back together again, I guarantee you the offers will start rolling in for some of these festivals over there to have you guys come over and play. And they fly you out for the weekend, you make a little money, they take care of you, and they send you back home on a Monday. I mean, it's the greatest thing in the world if you could put this together. So many people
Well,
would love to see this.
I see, Mike. I'm not done yet by a long shot, and I promise I won't wait 40 years to call you again. I'm sorry. You never call, you never write.
When I first started the show like 18 years ago, I started looking for members of your band to have on the show, and I could never find anybody because I don't like to use Facebook and stuff like that to reach out to bands and things like that. I try to do it like through
Right,
emails
right.
or phone, and I should have did that years ago. I probably would have found you on there. We could have did this a long time ago, but that's just the way life goes. But I mean, I'm glad that you're here now and you're doing it, and that's the best part about it is that people are gonna you're gonna have kids now, not us. Like we're in our 60s now, so you get people that are younger than us are going to hear this music for the first time. There's going to be a whole new generation of fans. Is it the 80s group of people? No, but it's a whole new group of people that are going to be swarming to Panzer Division.
Well, it's just, I've always said this, that just good, honest music holds up. And truth, people can see through BS.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like I said, I love that band and the times and the guys, and I would be really honored to put a couple things out as a tribute to them. And who knows? I mean, I'm not done by a long shot. The fact that you and I are talking is so amazing. But anything can happen, and hopefully it will. And like I said, I won't wait so long.
Oh, I know you won't. I know stuff is going to happen, but when you think about it, so many bands say like, things weren't happening for us at the time. We tried, and we just threw in the towel and we broke up. You look at like some juicy gospel, like the guys hated each other. This guy slept with the other guy's girlfriend or wife, but it's not like that. That's just the business part of it just doesn't pan out, and you stop investing money and then you just move on from it. Would you ever say to yourself, maybe if we stood together one more year, got that record deal and put it out, what happened? Or when it did end, you just said we're done and it's never going to come up again.
No, it's, the thing is, those kind of thoughts will haunt you and drive you nuts if you let them. I've definitely, I've been through the, if this had happened and what ifs and stuff, but life, universe happens in a weird way sometimes. And the fact that we're here talking about it today is amazing. But who knows what could have happened, but hopefully we can carry this on as long as we can.
Yeah.
Keep that flame burning,
I hope
But
so
yeah,
too.
I absolutely.
As after the band broke up and the years started going on, and now in the 90s and 2000s, did you think like people just forgot about what you did, that the band was just a blip on the radar and nobody really cared or knew anymore? Because before social media came out, really nobody knew what was happening with all the old bands anyway.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. I mean, I thought we're done. I mean, not a clue that it was still being listened to or anywhere. We thought we did our best. We gave it a shot. We had a great time and no hard feelings, but we figured it just didn't pan out. But that pan was 42-year pan, apparently.
That's true.
you know.
But you know,
But yeah,
like you were saying earlier, when you got the letter from Czechoslovakia, people that aren't from our age group and didn't come around in the world of internet and Skype, and you call Japan for free on your computer. Back in the day, to get a letter from a country like Czechoslovakia was unbelievable for that to happen. People just don't. These kids today can never understand that or comprehend that. I remember trading tapes with people over in Europe, and I think it was like 4 stamps to send a cassette to Europe. I don't remember what a stamp cost in 1982 or three, maybe 15 cents. 60 cents. I
yeah.
sent
I
the I,
mean,
I sent the record over there a few weeks ago. It cost me $65 to send one record overseas.
uh, I know, boy. Well, that's the other thing nowadays. It's so insanely expensive for bands to tour and travel. I have so many friends that are in like the back line and support business that have just been killed by the costs and everything nowadays. It's tough on bands. I please keep going, bands. But it's a tough road. I guess every generation has its challenges, but I one thing it's how different the industry has become now too with social media and just the marketing tool that is for bands.
It's very hard today. Most bands are right back to the old days. They're kind of all doing it themselves. They can record in the house on a little computer system and make the record sound like it was done by a professional producer back in the '80s. I mean, when you did put that demo out, did you ever try to shop it around back then to some labels, or did you even get to that point yet?
Well, I mean, we sent it everywhere we could think of. We sent it to magazines and labels, and God, we sent out hundreds of cassettes back then. But we were just we were literally just we would go to the drugstore back then to the magazine rack and get all the metal magazines and just start writing down addresses and sending tapes
Yeah,
out. But yeah, it was everything was it was a lot of post office and stamps and
I know.
and sending stuff. But we just because everything was pre internet and social media, we had no idea how far reaching these little cassette tapes had gone. But it's just once again the fact that you and I are talking. Just it's that amazing underground metal network.
Yes, it always has been. It always will be. And, some label lost out on this because I always felt the music was as hard and heavy as it was also very accessible. It could have went over with a large group of audience, from the diehard metalheads to the people that are into hard rock. There's a little bit of everything for everybody in there, and it melded so well together that some label really missed the opportunity to put this out and give you guys, that little bit of a boost back then.
Yeah, who knows? We just like I said, we just played songs that we loved and they were fun to play, and they had a lot of cool changes and parts to them, and they were fun lyrically, and but coulda, shoulda, woulda. But like I said, I'm so humbled and encouraged by the response still that I would love to put out some of the music we didn't have a chance to release, and I've kind of told Jim he's going to be my sounding board. I won't put anything out that's not up to standard.
Yeah.
But like I said, I'm not done yet. We'll see what happens. But I'm working with Jeremy and those guys, and I'm just so overwhelmed right now. It's amazing, to be honest with you.
Well, Jerry, I'm really happy for you. And the Heaven Hell guys are a great crew to be working with, and they put out quality product. And for people that didn't pick this up yet, the insert is just incredible. A great story in there, all the lyrics of the songs. So everybody's got to pick it up. And if you listen to my show, I always promote them. So, Jerry, I'm going to let you go in 2 minutes because I want to play another tune. Then I got another guest waiting in the wings. But, man, such a big fan of Panzer Division all these years. I'm so happy to talk to you. And anything you do in the tri state area, even as far as Baltimore, I'll be there.
Mike, I can't thank you enough. It's been such a blast to talk to you and to tell the tale. And we're not done yet. And I got your number now. So,
That sounds
but
great, brother.
hopefully there's more coming. All right, dude, Mike, take care and love you all, you guys out there. And thank you. Metal fans are the best.
Thank you, Jerry. You have a great night, my friend. Take care. I'll talk to you soon.
You too, Mike.
All
Thanks,
right, bye
bud.
bye.
Bye.
All right, let's get on some more Panzer Division. Crush, Kill, Destroy. This is probably my favorite song by the band.
by Panzer Division. Crush, Kill, Destroy. The Demolition EP is out right now on Heaven Hell Records. Go pick yourself up a copy. Jerry was a really nice guy to talk to. And we got to get to Tim King in a little while. Uh, Everybody knows him from Soil. Well, not the people who listen to my show because that's not the kind of music we play around here. But Soil's a really big band. But he's got Embryonic Autopsy, which is his death metal band. So we'll be talking to him in a few minutes. We'll get on a couple more songs between now and then. Like I was saying earlier, I couldn't believe that I heard, that Excited broke up, and I didn't know anything about it. That one like kind of went over my head, but no more Exciter. But Exciter is like Black Sabbath in a way to me. Even though Black Sabbath changed sound and style over the years to a point. I mean, Dio sounded different than the Ozzy Sabbath, and the Ian Gillan Sabbath sounded different than the Dio and the Ozzy Sabbath. And I love this stuff with Tony Martin and all the other people that sang in the band over the years. I never considered it to be Black Sabbath, like Black Sabbath. They were always like a different band to me, but it was Black Sabbath, I guess, technically. And Excited was the same way. You had Dan Beehler in there at some point in time. Then there was only John Ricci in there for some points of time. Then it was Alan and John, Alan and Dan. There was always a combination, but never the three together until they reunited around 2014, I think it was. But they had some great singers. The albums with Kenny, Metal Mouth were fantastic. With Jacques Ballinger, they were great. Jacques playing at Power Rage with John right now. They were all good records. They may not have been like, classic Exciter, but each record sounded great. And John is such an amazing songwriter. I mean, he really is like, him, Wolf Hoffman, Tony Iommi, and Kurt Vanderhoof. They come up with some of the best riffs and hooks ever. Album after album, no matter who the singer is, no matter how things change, they always deliver. That's just the way it goes sometimes with some bands. All right, Christian wanted to hear Strike this week. Shell Shock. These guys were out of, I think, Washington State. I do believe they had one EP back in like 1983, 1984, but it was pretty good. So I'm surprised he dug this up. But leave it to the young gun every week to come up with something that we've forgotten about over the years. So here you go, Strike, Shell Shock.
Yeah.
All right, out of Chicago, Illinois, that was Hat Trick with Demon's Lair. Sometimes I play a song I haven't played in a long time by a band, and I'm like, I gotta look for those guys to get them on the show. Then I type it into in my list on my show's program. Like, oh, I interviewed them like 5 years ago or 10 years ago. I don't even remember now. I used to remember every guest I interviewed and every show, but after 18 years and interviewing over 2,000 guests, I'm starting to lose track now. I hit that age category, so I can't help it. But they were a cool band. That was the only record they put out, The Beast, back in 1985. Before that, Clovenhoof off their last record. That was Redeemer with Harry, the Tyrant Conklin on vocals. I know Lee's working on new music right now. Maybe we'll get it this year. Clovenhoof delivers every single time they put out a record. And I don't know what to expect when they had George in the band, and it blew me away. And then when they had Harry in the band, it says, I don't know what's going to happen. And same thing happened again. Lee just delivers consistently. And we open things up in that set with Strike and Shell Shock for Christian. So there you go. All right, I'm heading out to New Orleans in a couple of days for my char grilled oysters, my beignets, and my turtle soup. So I'll be back Sunday about 3, 4 o'clock here in New York, and just in time to get ready to do the show. Next week we have JC Garcia from Phantom and Chris Osterman from Iron Kingdom. So since we have two relatively new bands on the show, maybe we'll play all new music by up and coming bands next week. How does that sound, everybody? Pretty good? We don't usually do that here. We stick to the classics, but maybe next week we will. All right. Let's take a little break here. We'll talk to Tim in about 2 seconds. Actually, we already spoke to Tim, so we're just going to play the interview. So sit back, relax. Here's Tim King from Embryonic Autopsy.
How are you, buddy? How's it
I'm doing
going?
great. I'm doing great. I can't complain. I'm talking with you tonight. How bad can life be?
Well, not too bad because I'm talking with you too. So
All
there
right,
you
well,
go.
Hey,
That's
listen,
great, man.
I got to tell you, you guys have been killing it for the last 6 years. I mean, you come out of nowhere and boom, 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 3 records. You kind of wrapped up this little chopped up storytelling with the last 2 records. I mean, how do you guys do it?
Oh, shoot. Somehow Are you there? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I don't know if you can hear me.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I got
Yeah.
you. For some reason, some weird thing happened. I'm sorry. Could you repeat the question?
I was saying, over 6 years, you put out 3 records. You've been telling this, story that continues from album to album in a way. And it's like, people know you from Soul and Oppressor, but it feels like this band came out of nowhere and 3 records pop up, one better than the other. I mean, you guys have been killing it.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for saying that. That means a lot because we just had we've been having a lot of fun with this band. It kind of started off as just a fun side project because, I missed singing and I missed the, Oppressor death metal days and all. And I've never stopped listening to death metal ever. So I kind of wanted to get back into it. And me and my buddy Scott threw this band together, came up with a concept behind it and all that. And I called a few buddies to throw some solos on it, like James Murphy and Terrence from Suffocation and my buddy Jack Owen from Cannibal and now 6 Feet Under. And it just all came together. We got a record deal out of it, and we've just been having so much fun with it. And I think that's really what has set this band apart. We weren't really trying, or we didn't, have any intention of quote unquote making it with this band. We just wanted to play, old school, brutal USA death metal and have fun doing it. And I think that really shows mostly in the music that we're just having a good time doing it and doing something we love rather than like over trying or trying to make something out of it that it's not,
Yeah, people don't realize how much the business part of this music business can really take away from the music and make you not enjoy what you're doing. And like when you go back to the days of Soil, I mean, signed to a major label, way out there and up there, and there's a lot on the line with that band. Over here, you could be more of yourself, I think, and be more free to do what you want to do.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Soil, not to take anything away from it, it's been, so good to me and a major part of my life. And it's the reason I'm sitting here talking to you and not working at, an office selling real estate or, insurance or something like that. I've been very blessed to be able to do what I've done with that. But it's such a, a juggernaut type thing and machine that, there's managers involved, there's business managers involved, there's, labels involved and this, that, the other thing. Everybody's got, their hands in some part of your pocket on that sort of thing. But, with this band, it's, me and Scott talking and deciding what we want to do. And then we bring it to the other guys and girl. And we and we just have a great time doing it. It's not, lining our pockets with money by any means. In fact, it costs us money half the time. But I have so much fun doing this. There's the pressure. There's just no pressure in it, and it's being back into the scene. And one thing I've always loved about death metal and extreme metal and everything is there's just such a camaraderie with everybody. Everybody genuinely likes the music, and it's such a common ground that you have with this type of music because it is so specialized that, when somebody that likes death metal, they like death metal. They love death metal. They eat, sleep, and breathe death metal. And to be part of that again has been something really special to me, at least.
That's the most true thing you could say about the death metal fans is that no matter what genre, I mean, any genre that's out there, they're fans of 80s music, but they won't try anything from the 90s or beyond. They're fans of, hair metal or this kind of metal, and they just stick with that. But death metal fans follow it through and through, no matter what decade it is, no matter how much the music may change or not change. They're always loyal. And those same fans from the 80s went through the 90s and 2000s all the way up till today. That's the most true thing you could say about death metal fans.
Oh, absolutely. And it's an honor that, this band has been so accepted by it. In fact, I saw this one review, and they called us death metal comfort food. And I just think that was the coolest thing ever because, we're not trying to be super technical. We're not trying to be, anything we're not. I mean, we're just trying to play old school, just good, genuine riff death metal. And to hear it being called comfort food was like refreshing to me. I think that's the coolest thing that you could say about it because it is. It's just pure death metal, plain and simple. There's nothing super fancy about it, and it's just comes from the heart, and it's just a fun thing to be back into. I couldn't tell you how excited I am to be back on the scene with all this.
Very true. When you and Scott put this together, was it more of a project between the two of you that you just wanted to go in and record songs and music? Or did you have it from day one that we're going to get a couple of other people together and we're going to make this a band and, go out and tour and play live and do all these other things with it?
Well, I mean, originally we were just going to do like 4 or 5 songs and slap it up on, streaming just to have a little bit of fun with it. Scott came to me and he said, hey, Tim, I got some death metal songs I've been sitting on. Would you like to throw some vocals on it? And I'm like, man, I haven't sang death metal in so long. I don't even know if I still have it in me. And he's like, well, why don't we try? And Scott has a home studio. And we went in there, and I just started popping these things off, and these ideas just started coming to my head. And my voice was actually deeper than it was back in the Oppressor days.
Wow.
I even kind of surprised myself a little bit with it. And it just came together so quickly. And that's when I was like, you know what, I'm going to send this to some of my, death metal pals that I still talk to, like James Murphy and, Jack Owen and Terrence from Suffocation. And I sent it to him, and all those guys came back and like, this is really cool, man. I'm like, he's like, you still got it, bro. And then, James was like one of the first ones to say, hey, you want me to throw down a solo on this stuff? And it was like, oh my God, would you? That would be so cool. And then it followed with, Jack and Terrence and stuff like that. So we've kind of done that. It's been a tradition on each record to have, those guys throw down a solo, 2, 3, however many. They're kind of like the silent members of the band, the behind the scenes, like Wizard of Oz guys behind the band, because, on each record, Terrence and James have been on all 3 records at this point.
Yeah.
And Jack was on the second one. I wanted him on this new one, but they were finishing up the new 6 Feet Under record, so he wasn't able to break free. But, it's been, it's kind of like validation when, your friends and some of the best death metal players and legends in the death metal scene are actually like intrigued about the band and want to be a part of it,
True. Do you have songs set aside for them that you want them to play on, or do they just kind of feel it out and they put the touch on what you give them?
Well, what we originally did is we just sent the bulk of material and said, pick something. That's kind of what we've done with everything since, has been like, hey, here's what we've got. What do you think you could throw some flavor on? And, like Terrence is like, oh, this part would be great. I got a great idea, and just, shredding. And then, James comes in and, over something that I had that I wanted to put like a total, like, chorus type vocal line on, he starts soloing over, and I'm like, oh, well, there goes that. There goes. And I have to go back to the drawing board and rewrite lyrics to this whole thing because he just soloed over the entire part where I was going to put the
Yeah.
vocal up, so it's been cool.
But it works out in the end. One of my favorite bands from back in the day was Mussolini. I always thought they went a little over the top with the lyrics. But when I started reading your lyrics, I mean, there's nothing like these things anyway. I mean, every body part is mentioned from a vagina to the tip of a toe. I mean, I love it. Like, it's just so freeing when you can hear music where it's just like you're not writing about politics, you're not writing about social issues, you're not writing about, rock and roll. It's just like bloody, gory stuff, which the band really kind of defines. And I love how far you've taken every song lyrically.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, that's really what I wanted to do with this band because, back in the day with Oppressor, I was, trying to solve the world's problems and trying to change the world with lyrics and music and all that. And, the older I got, the more I realized, I've done my best to put a stamp on my carbon footprint here.
Yeah.
With this band, I kind of want to make it like you're watching a Friday the 13th movie or a Terrifier movie or a Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And then me and Scott have always been intrigued by, alien intervention. Like, how did the pyramids get built with people that, and hieroglyphics and, all this sort of, technology and languages that they had centuries ago that people nowadays can't really even figure out how they did it. Was there alien involvement in it? Are the governments hiding aliens that crash landed at Roswell? So we took that concept, and then I used that along with just wanting to, because of the name of the band, Embryonic Autopsy. I always wanted to name a song Embryonic Autopsy. I thought that was just cool for some reason. And when I looked it up did a name search, nobody had a song title called that. Nobody had a name called that. So I'm like, okay, we got our band name. So I incorporated everything to do with like the female reproductive system and deformed children and all kinds of weird stuff, and combined that with the alien theme and came up with like the human alien hybrid thing and how it went wrong, and the deformed mutants came out and started, cannibalizing the insides of the female anatomy and popping out of this and that, and it just became this whole like, alien / Terrifier Texas Chainsaw Massacre thing all wrapped up into one. So
you accomplished it.
Oh, thank you. I mean, with this, I figured, it's so hard to get anybody's attention anymore. You almost have to beat them over the head with something, which is kind of where I came up with like the song titles and stuff. And to be honest with you, a lot of the songs and videos and stuff have been banned in quite a few countries because of the titles and the content of it, which I don't know. It's kind of endearing if you ask me, even though our record label's probably like, well, hey man, we're missing out on some sales and streams, but it makes for a good conversation piece,
Yeah. Well, Massacre Records is a great label, and they're kind of free going with a lot of stuff. They let the artists do what the artists do best, and that's write music and perform and stuff like that. So that's always a great thing. But when I look at it, I mean, did you know that this was something that you wanted to continue from album to album, at least for these first 3 records? Or was it just that you had so much ideas and so much material that you said, you know what, we're going to have to spread this out over a few records? Or did it just work out that way, that after each record came out, you realized there was a kind of ongoing theme between them?
Yeah, I mean, the first record definitely had a theme to it, which was the whole alien type thing. And, we got the record deal from Massacre, which, like you were saying, they're such a fabulous label. I mean, everybody there is just truly genuine people, and they really believed in the band. And I couldn't ask to be on a better label. They're just so fantastic with everything they do and the way they treat us. And, the band started to get a buzz. And, we didn't know if we were going to get through one record and it was going to bomb or people weren't going to take to it, and that would have been it. But it got a buzz and started going. And then, we wrote material for a second record, and then we got the Nile 6 Feet Under Coast to Coast U.S. tour, and that blew us up even bigger. And then we did the third record. Now we're going to Europe actually in 3 days with 6 Feet Under. And we're doing a ton of festivals, and we're doing club dates with them. And, it's just been such a process to where the band keeps growing album to album, year by year. And, we formed in 2021, so it's a fairly new band at 5 years old. And, I'm pretty amazed with how far it's gotten in such a short amount of time. I feel blessed. I feel like we're doing something right. And, it's mainly just us having a good time. We didn't set out to be the biggest or best. We didn't set out to, you know, be rock stars or whatever, death metal stars or whatever you'd call it in the scene or whatever it is. We just wanted to play music that we grew up on, that we still enjoy, and have a good time doing it. And that was the whole premise for it. And I think that really shows when you actually come to a show or talk to us or listen to the music. You can genuinely tell that we're doing it because we love it, and there's really no other ulterior motive behind it other than the fact that we love death metal and we wanted to play it again.
Yeah, well, the Now tour was the first tour that the band really went on, like throughout the whole USA from coast to coast. I mean, it has to help that you have a name recognition in the business, and so does Scott. So that brings a little attention to the band because I know you from other even though Soil is nothing like this band or Suffocation, it's completely different musically, but it's such a big band that your name is out there from that. And same thing with Scott. So did it help the band any that, you kind of had name recognition? Or you feel like you're starting over again?
I mean, the Oppressor name alone, helped this significantly because, believe it or not, Oppressor is bigger now than it ever was back in the day. We were playing super technical death metal, and, it went over a lot of people's heads back in the day. And over the years, to see Oppressor being labeled as like one of the death metal, technical death metal pioneers alongside like Atheist and Cynic and Pestilence and Gorguts and Suffocation, to be lumped in with that as like one of the early technical death pioneers. I mean, I never would have thought that in a million years we'd be remembered like that, or even thought about in this day and age. So that kind of rebirth of, Oppressor and that really helped. And then with the whole Soil thing, it's like I gained so many connections over the years with that. I mean, it became such a big band for us. I mean, we toured with Ozzy and went on Ozfest and, toured with the biggest of bands and stuff like that. And in fact, the band's still going. And we actually formed Soil, believe it or not, as a kind of a middle finger to the black metal scene, because like the early black metal scene, because back then they were putting on all the corpse paint and it was just so sloppy and out of tune and the screechy vocals. And it was just completely opposite of what death metal was about, which was like precision and heaviness and and the best production you could get, and just doing things right. And I looked at the rest of the guys, and black metal was taking over the scene. I'm like, I'm not putting on corpse paint, and I don't want to be a part of this. And the guys are like, yeah, me neither. And we just started jamming out like old Sabbath tunes and Ozzy riffs, and we were really into like Corrosion of Conformity at the time. And we were like, oh, let's try a side project out of it. And the band just like blew up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe it, and oh shoot, are you still there?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, great. I always hate that when somebody tries to call me.
Don't worry about don't worry about the video. It's for audio anyway, so.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and it just got bigger and bigger and bigger, and but I never stopped listening to death metal, and it was so crazy because, Jack Owen had quit Cannibal Corpse and formed a rock band called Adrift, and we had them open up for Soil, and Kelly from Atheist joined this band called Neurotica, and we had him open up for Soil, and we were on Ozfest together, and I'm like, man, I'm hanging with Kelly from Atheist, and Donald Tardy was playing with Andrew WK, and when we were in Florida, Obituary came out with Andrew WK and played, Slowly Rerot and Find the Arise and stuff like that. So it's like my death metal buddies were kind of taking suit in what we were doing with Soil and forming rock bands and stuff like that. So we all kind of like had a little, because we all kind of had like a little, I guess you could say, going away from it for a hot minute because of the black metal takeover. And then, we all found our way back home because now we're all playing again. Atheist is back going again, and Jackson 6 Feet Under, and here I have Embryonic Autopsy, and it's, the Obituary reformed and after a hiatus and stuff. So it's pretty cool how, no matter what happens in life, when death metal is in your heart, you always kind of feel the urge to come back to it, and stay with it. So
yeah, everything comes full circle. I mean, if you go back to the 80s with the original bands that were considered the death metal pioneers, bands like Death, Mantis was Death, and Possessed and bands like that. If you look at what they were doing compared to what the death metal bands of the 90s were doing, it was a lot different. I mean,
Oh yeah.
they were more like speed and thrash metal bands with just like, growly vocals. But then a whole scene evolved in the 90s where it kind of changed. And you guys wanted to bring that sound back again. I get that with the new band, but how do you feel death metal has changed musically over the decades? If you went from the 80s to the 90s to what people were doing before this band started, I mean, what do you think the differences were in the different decades of death metal?
Well, I mean, it's what's really cool is to see bands like Incantation and Dying Fetus and Suffocation getting put on these massive festivals like, Louder Than Life and Welcome to Rockville and Sonic Temple and stuff like that. That's just a testament to the longevity of death metal and how it's kind of coming back full circle. I have friends that have 15-year-old kids that Embryonic Autopsy is one of their favorite bands, and it's crazy. I'm like, wow, your 15-year-old is listening to my new band, and they love death metal, and they go down rabbit holes and listen to it. But uh, the whole deathcore scene kind of came and kind of took a place in the scene and stuff. And I like a lot of those bands. Don't get me wrong, but seeing bands like Sanguzabog and Aborted and some of the newer death metal bands. I mean, Esquela Grind. I don't know whether you consider them deathcore meets death metal or what they are, but I really
Yeah.
enjoy them a lot and stuff. But you know, uh, I think deathcore was kind of like the new version of death metal, and there's parts of it that I don't like about it, but there's a lot of stuff that I actually enjoy from it. And I think that classic death metal and the bands that started that have just stayed true to their roots and keep on doing it. I mean, you put on a Cannibal Corpse record and it still sounds like Cannibal Corpse. You put on a Suffocation record, it still sounds like Suffocation, and so on and so forth. So I think it's really cool that bands like that have withstood the test of time and still put out quality, great sounding records that tip a hat to the early days, but have better production and more modern techniques in recording, and sound really, really good, especially with the new tools available.
True. I mean, if you told me 40 years ago that some of those bands I was listening to back then were still going to be doing it today, even though some of them had absences for a lot of years in between, but they came back. But when they came back, to me, they came back as strong as they were when they first started out. And the music that they're right now is continuing where they left off. I wouldn't believe it. I mean, because a lot changes over the decades. And to have those bands come back now, like especially Obituary, I mean, they're out there, they sound better now than they did back in the early days.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, John Tardy's voice, I don't know how he does it. I've never heard anybody match his voice. I mean, it's just, he just has a gift to where when you hear that voice and Trevor's, signature guitar tone, you're like, that's Obituary. There's
Yeah.
no mistaking it. That's why they're one of the elite. I call them the death metal elite. You hear those certain bands and you're like, who the hell they are,
Yeah, I mean, I truly think you got one of the deepest, most powerful voices in the scene, in my opinion. How you create that is beyond me, because when people hear you talk and then they hear you sing, and they think there's so many effects added to it, and there's more than likely none, if any. And it's just amazing how you can recreate that vibe live from record.
It's very little effects actually.
Yeah,
But what's crazy is the older I got, the lower my voice got for some reason. I don't know whether it's, like my balls are sagging. I
yeah,
don't
they're
know if
probably
my
dropping.
tonsils
Yeah,
are sagging. I think my balls and my tonsils both started sagging. So I mean, I'm surprised it came out of me too. I mean, and on this new record, I tried with each record, I tried to get lower and heavier, and I don't know how I've been able to pull it off. It just kind of happened, I
yeah.
mean, I wish I had a better explanation. Like I said, the sagging ball and sagging tonsil theory might be the only explanation I have for it. But I mean, I tried to go as low as I could back in the Oppressor days, and my voice now is way lower than that. So I mean, I guess age.
Yeah. Well, whatever you're doing a great job, man. I know you're going over to Europe in a couple of days. You're out the whole month of June. I mean, there's a lot of shows. I mean, you got a whole bunch of things ahead of you. I mean, it's always great when you think you're going in, you're getting on the plane and starting out. When does it get to be a drag? Did you say, man, I'm tired of getting on that bus. I'm tired of getting in that van. I'm tired of getting in that car. Does it ever happen? It's just the adrenaline so much that it just carries you from show to show.
Well, it's crazy because when I'm at home, all I want to do is be out on the road. When I'm out on the road, you start to miss home a little bit. But the second you get home, you want to go back out on the road. It's like I guess you could say I'm a lifer, and it's just I love going out there, and I love playing live. I love meeting the fans. I love meeting up with friends that I haven't seen in a long time. So it's still really exciting for me, and especially with this band because in Soil I play bass and do backing vocals and have for since the band started. But with Embryonic, I just sing. I didn't want to pick up an instrument or anything. I wanted to really focus in really, really hard on the vocals to really give the most powerful performance that I could live, rather than having to worry about playing an instrument and singing and maybe half-assing one or the other at times to compensate for like a super technical riff or a really heavy vocal part that might be. So I just completely focus on the vocals, and it's fun to be a front man again. I kind of feel a little naked up there without an instrument, but I enjoy every second of it. And to see people, like yourself, say how much you enjoy it, and and to see all these new fans that are fans of Embryonic Autopsy and don't even know any of my other bands, don't even know who I am, just know me as the vocalist of Embryonic Autopsy. It's like, wow, it's beyond flattering, and it just puts a smile on my face all the time to go out there, because it's when you're out on the road, every day is a new adventure. Just when I think I've seen it all, something more crazy than the last 20 years happens, and it's that thrill, and some people it's not for, and some people hate it. I just I live for it. I'm a lifer. I don't really know how else to describe it.
Yeah, that's got to make you feel good, because then I said, oh, there's a bass player from Soul. I can't wait to see him singing on, it's like there's a singer from Embryonic, Autopsy. So it's got to make you feel kind of good that that's what they focus on right now, especially when the band's out on the road.
It's really cool. And, I'm blessed to have had such a great musical career. And, I just like seeing people entertained and seeing smiles on people's faces and giving them that 30 minutes, 45 minutes, however long we're playing or however long a concert is that you're part of, just seeing people just forget about their daily problems and things that they have going on in life, and just letting out some aggression and getting into a pit or just escaping from everyday life for that couple hours. I mean, there's no therapy quite like music. And, for me to be able to help give that to people and see people enjoy that just, I don't know, it kind of makes me feel like me being on this earth I was put here for some purpose, to give to pass on a little joy to other people,
Well, that's what you've been doing with these last 3 records. I know we're going to get another one out of you probably in the next 2 years. Tim, I'm not going to keep you. I was told you I had another interview to do right after this one, so I'm going to let you go for that. But we're in the middle of the year. I mean, anything coming up for the U.S. for the rest of the year or after this European tour?
Yeah, we actually are working on that right now. Our booking agent is working on figuring out what we're going to do for the United States to follow up this European tour. The new record actually comes out while we're in Europe, which is pretty exciting. And then since it'll be out, we're gonna get together, and we'll definitely do a full USA tour, hopefully a couple. The only thing we have on the books right now is we are doing a Hawaii show, the Big Island Bash in Kilo, Hawaii. That's not until later on in October, but between now and then we'll definitely have a USA tour on the books, and definitely get back and hit all those places that we did with Nile and 6 Feet Under to come back and give everybody a second round of whiplash, hopefully.
Man, that's going to be great. I know it has to be rough going to Hawaii, and leaving the cold weather behind in October. Spend a couple of days in the sun, but I'm sure you're going to kill it over there. And Tim, I'm a big fan. The record comes out June 5th on Massacre. Like I said, you're being Europe, but people could buy the record anywhere. You did an amazing job on this, my friend.
Oh, thank you so much. And it really means a lot to me to hear you say those kind words. Thank you so much for supporting the band and for this interview, and, keeping True Death Metal alive. Power to you too. Really,
it's my pleasure, and I'm going to see you in New York when you get here next time. Don't worry about it.
Awesome. I love it.
All right. Take care, my friend. Have a great night.
Great speaking with you. Take
care,
buddy.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Once together, renegade.
All right, we kick things off with Ruthless, a brand new song. Raging Violence has that old classic Ruthless sound. Everybody seems to like it. Right there, White Tiger with Stand and Deliver. This is Mark St. John's band. He was with Kiss for a while. After he left Kiss, he formed this band. They were pretty good. They only put out that one record as far as I know, but I kind of liked it. And Mark passed away, I don't know, oh my God, 10, 15 years ago? Nice guy. All right, we're going to wrap it up here today. I want to thank Jerry for being on tonight's show. Such a big fan of Panzer Division. To see that record come out was just an amazing thing. And Tim King from Embryonic Autopsy. Thank you guys. We'll see you next week when we have Phantom on the show in Iron Kingdom. So don't forget to tune in for that. We'll wrap it up here with one more song. I still all these podcasts now, like all these podcast hosts. They're all like dying to interview Dennis Stratton because I feel like they're getting like a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame person on this show. But I don't get how he got into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I mean, I don't even really care about it myself personally, but he played on one Iron Maiden record almost 45 years ago, and he was only in the band, I think, for less than a year. And he got on, he gets nominated for being, into the rock. But yet, you had Eric Carr from Kiss. I don't know how they pick and choose, like, who gets in from the band, especially when it's a band that's been around for a long time. And, they have a lot of members that come and go. But when you think about it, I mean, Eric Carr was in the band longer than Peter Criss was in the band. And it was such a nice guy. He played on some of the biggest records in the 80s when they took their makeup off. He didn't get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but the four original members did, but not him. I don't get this. So how did Dennis Stratton get in there? I mean, it boggles my mind. All they keep asking is if he's going to attend the award ceremony. If you're going to the award ceremony, if Iron Maiden was going to be at the award ceremony, which they're not going to be because they really didn't want nothing to do with this, at least Bruce Dickinson didn't. I mean, why would he go there? Why would he be there? What purpose would that be? How could he talk or represent the band that he was in for less than a year and played on one record? I don't get it, but people feel like they're getting a guest like, Rock and Roll Hall of Famer on this show, so I think that's why they do it. But It is what it is. Same thing with Ozzy. Ozzy got nominated like as a solo artist. It was only Ozzy. Randy Rhoads should have been in there. Bob Daisley should have been there. Lee Kersick should have been there. Even Jakey Lee should have been in there, and Zach Wilder played with him longer than anybody else on guitar. They should have been a part of it. I mean, especially the other three guys, Randy, Bob, and Lee. They wrote all that music from those first two records. I mean, that's what made Ozzy a superstar back then. He always was a big performer, but that record like put him into a whole nother stratosphere after leaving Black Sabbath. So they should have been a part of that, but they weren't. So I don't know how they pick and choose who gets in, but it doesn't seem fair to me. But life isn't fair, is it? So thank you, everybody. Have a great night. I will see you next Sunday. I'm heading to New Orleans in a couple of days for my muffaletta and beignets. I'll see you when I get back next Sunday. Here's Sinner with the Runner. Take care, everybody.
He's got thunder in his eyes, burning up the sky. His mind is filled with thoughts of the reckless night. He walks up to the ledge, closer to the edge, looking at the town below. He swings his giant sledge. Runner in the night. Runner, eyes are burning bright. Evil, it's his guiding light. Runner in the night. Now he sings again, and he's known to be